Hi. Almost everyone watches me without a subscription. Please support my channel with a subscription. I try for you. Thank you.
Story 1. I cheated on my comatose girlfriend. I'll just jump right into it. I, 21M, have a beautiful girlfriend, 22F, who 5 months ago got into a car crash driving to Vegas with her close friend, who I'll call Angela. Angela, who was driving the vehicle, was left with bruising but no severe injuries, while my girlfriend entered a coma due to several head injuries during the collision. Obviously, this was heartbreaking for my girlfriend's family, her friends, and myself. For the first month, I visited the hospital daily, sitting beside her and hoping she'd miraculously wake up. She didn't. At the 3-week mark, we, family and myself, get the news she might not recover from the crash. Heartbroken, I shut myself away from family and friends and spiraled, turning to alcohol as an escape. 4 months later, I was still in the eye of depression, not even thinking, never mind pursuing other women. 4 months later also marked the birthday of my best friend, who I'll call Mark. He planned himself a simple celebration, visiting a club for some drinks with other mutual close friends. When I received a text invitation, I politely declined, not in the headspace to be around so many people so suddenly. Mark persisted, however, and talked me into attending his celebration for a few hours and then making a quiet exit. At the club, I meet a woman. I don't talk with her romantically. I had no interest in her and didn't even think she could be hitting on me until Mark tells me it's obvious she's flirting. After many drinks, she offers herself to me, and in the moment I accepted. I called a cab to my place and one thing led to another. The morning after we part ways, and I don't think too much of the night before. Skipping to just 1 week later, my girlfriend wakes up. I remember the night I had with the woman and obviously wait to tell her, not wanting to add to her plate. I mean, the girl had just woken up from a coma. A few weeks later and she's home, fully recovered. This is when I decide to tell her that during her coma, I fooled around with another woman. She blew up at me, screaming, "How could you?" in many profanities, while I tried to talk sense into her, explaining I was hurt and didn't know if my girlfriend was going to be conscious anytime soon, never mind alive. She said some hurtful things, but I understand to an extent why. She stormed out of my place and went to sleep at Angela's. The following morning, I have angry texts from Angela berating me for my actions. My girlfriend had left me a message apologizing for things she said, but that she didn't know if she'd be able to trust me again. I understand where she's coming from, but at the same time, I don't know if you can blame me. I needed to get this off my chest. I'm not even sure if this is my fault, but with all that's being hurled at me, I feel like it could be. It was eating me alive, and I had to tell something, or at least someone. Advice wanted. Edit. Hi. I still haven't spoken to my girlfriend, but I'd like to clear a few things up. There was no serendipitous recovery. I skipped a hefty amount of medical details for privacy and not wanting to offend with getting anything wrong. Hi, I still haven't spoken. I understand the confusion. She is currently being monitored by a nurse daily and receiving CBT, editor's note, possibly cognitive behavioral therapy, from home, as well as frequent checks back into the hospital. She isn't living normally. I apologize for the confusion and thank you for the advice I've been receiving. I can tell you I've read them all carefully and individually and will continue to do so if I receive more. I accept not everyone will believe this due to my poor wording, but I came here to seek advice, not defend myself about my experience. Comment thread with more details on the relationship. Redditor, I really don't know how relevant it is, but I am curious, and I haven't seen anywhere that said how long y'all were together before the accident. I know when you enter a committed relationship, that means committed. But you both are young, and I can see at 21 time moves slower. I think a few years together is definitely different than a few months together before a situation like this. OP, around 11 months before the accident. Hi, so if you've read my other post, this is just a follow-up, but first I'll clear a few things up first. I've received a lot of messages from people who've been in a coma saying the medical details I supplied are inconsistent. I understand the confusion most people who saw the post felt, but the reasoning for the lack of details was privacy. My girlfriend was very stern about not wanting her story to appear in any local newspapers after the accident, and I wanted to shelter her personal life while seeking advice from Reddit. There was no miracle work, no Disney-style wake-up, nothing about it was miraculous. It was terrifying and hard on her and everyone she knows mental health. She is experiencing CBT from home and had muscle recovery rehab within the hospital for the first 3 weeks of being awake, and now is still going through muscle recovery help from home as well as being monitored daily by a nurse, alongside frequent hospital visits. I fully understand the confusion/disbelief, and it is fully my fault for not wording my post more carefully, but I can assure there's been nothing close to miraculous besides her actually waking up. Moving on to our relationship. I've spoken to her since she left my house and we are working things out. I told her I don't want her to consider what I've done as not cheating or cheating, but to just flag it as cheating, as I know if the roles were reversed I would feel a mix of anger and upset similarly. As for if we're getting back together? I think so. I want to at least support her during recovery if she is comfortable seeing me. However, I think she's decided she wants to make a final decision after she's in better health. Angela has been trying to convince her that once a cheat, always a cheat, and that I'll only reoffend. My girlfriend says Angela has raised multiple points with her that have her questioning. I've been forgiven and then unforgiven due to Angela telling her I'm an empty shell of a man and she deserves better. The worst part of this is that I agree to a certain extent, but I want to talk to my girlfriend, not her friend, about this issue. So I'm stumped on how to get the attention of my girlfriend without getting the attention of Angela. Comment thread with sexual health details. Redditor, I hope you've been STI/STD tested, including oral swabs. And that you used a condom. OP, that's a very good point. I was very drunk and neither I or the woman remember if a condom was used, but I do know she isn't pregnant. Thank you for this. I should probably get tested. Story 2. My fiance and my best friend are attracted to each other. My fiance and friend, we'll call her Ashley, are attracted to each other and subtly flirt with each other, and I'm not too sure where to go from here. They have much more in common in terms of hobbies and interests, i.e., both are big into gaming, computers, Lego, guitar, personality types, etc. Ashley, who is single, has described my fiancé as having golden retriever energy and then later said that she is looking for a partner with the same kind of energy and traits that he has. My fiancé has subtly mentioned that he thinks it would be cool to buy a house, a future goal of ours, and have friends, meaning Ashley, come live with us. He's mentioned that he really likes Ashley's personality, and I agree she's very talkative, bubbly, and fun to be around. We went over to Ashley's a little while ago so fiancé could help her with some DIY home improvement stuff. I noticed that fiancé dressed slightly differently, like wore nicer clothes than usual, when we were getting ready to go over. When we got there I noticed Ashley was extra bubbly around fiancé. It was then that they discovered their mutual love for the same games, how both of them have a desire to build their own PC, etc. They even finished each other's sentence when making the same joke. Fiancé also kept pointing out little minor safety infractions around Ashley's place in a joking manner, sort of subtly implying that he wanted her to be safe and protected, etc., to which Ashley would just kind of giggle and be like, "Oh, it's fine." Ashley also made a comment about how she's been talking with a guy off Tinder who has flaked on her a few times and basically said that all Tinder guy had to do was come and help her with what fiancé was helping her to do around her place, and she would have let him smash, so to speak. A few weeks ago fiancé's friend, myself, and Ashley went to an escape room together. At the end, Ashley accidentally brushed her hand against the front of fiancé's pants, then looked at him, laughed. Fiancé just shook his head and laughed and we moved on. They didn't know that I saw, but of course, I did. All in all, I've just noticed lots of subtle flirting going on between them. I didn't let it show that I was bothered while we were at Ashley's a little while ago because I didn't want to make things awkward, but on the way home I was kind of quiet and distant, processing my thoughts and feelings. Fiancé could tell something was up and tried to be extra nice. He did ask me if something was wrong or if I wanted to talk, but I just said no, because I felt like if I started talking about it at that time, I'd get too emotional. It just got me thinking about the fact that fiancé proposed to me a little after 1 year together, technically when we were still in this honeymoon phase. We've been together 2.5 years now and have lived together for most of this time. It also got me thinking that maybe by being with me, fiancé is being held back from being with someone who he could be happier and more compatible with, not saying Ashley specifically, but even someone like her. Fiancé's ex was similar to Ashley in terms of being a huge gamer, very chatty/sociable and adventurous with lots of friends, etc. For reference, I'm definitely more quiet and introverted, don't have a lot of friends or family, and I'm not big into gaming and anime. I'm still working on discovering more hobbies/interests that I'm passionate about, but there are a few things I enjoy like reading, knitting/crocheting, learning about space and the universe, etc. I have a therapy appointment in a few weeks where I plan on discussing my feelings, but just wanted to get her/relationship_advice take on the matter. Any advice or insight would be appreciated. Thanks. Relevant comments: have you actually talked to your fiancé about this? Don't get married if you can't talk about things that bother you. OOP replied. I brought up the fact that I think they're attracted to each other, and he totally denied feeling any attraction to her. He said he loved me and wants to be with me. It's just difficult to believe though in light of what I saw between them. It honestly seemed they'd be a much better match together given the chemistry and many commonalities between them. Admittedly though, I've been known to be oversensitive sometimes and already have low self-esteem, hence the upcoming therapy appointment. I should also mention that fiancé has never given me a reason to believe he would cheat before. I do love him, and I know he loves me too. We have each other's phone passwords, he doesn't try to hide things, etc. I don't believe he and Ashley would cheat together, but it's just the knowledge of feeling like they're attracted to each other and maybe even better suited for each other that I'm struggling with. Skullsmros is 66. I agree with everyone that you need to talk with your fiancé about this. What is really telling for me is how you said he was being extra nice to you afterwards and asking you what was wrong. That to me makes it sound like he knows why you were upset and he knows what he was doing was wrong and he's trying to cover his ass. OOP replied. I confronted him and he told me that he has absolutely no feelings for her, which is hard for me to believe. I strongly think he does find her attractive, but his guy logic is telling him not to admit that as it might cause even more friction. I did tell him that it's okay to feel some attraction for someone else, even when in a committed/long-term relationship. We're all human and that part of us can't be turned off like a light switch. I went on to tell him where it becomes problematic is when that attraction is acted upon. He just continued to refuse that he had any feelings towards Ashley, and the only reason he came to do the DIY home improvement stuff is because of me. She is my friend, after all. Additional comment from OOP. True, it was almost as if they thought I wouldn't catch on to the playful teasing/flirting. I did though. I honestly don't believe my fiancé would cheat. Ashley is more difficult to gauge though. I have only known her for about 6 months. She is extremely open and has no filter when it comes to talking about sex and just other sorts of topics the average person would be like HM. Should I say this out loud in front of others? Like I mentioned, she is really fun, talkative, easy to be around. I guess that's what appealed to me about her because I find it difficult to make new friends and be around others. But yeah, I don't know. If I cut ties with her, I worry my fiancé will look at me like I'm crazy/possessive. Maybe going forward in the future, I can just try to minimize the times my fiancé and her are around each other. I don't know. He is already acting like I'm kind of nuts for thinking he has any attraction towards her. Update: thanks everyone for your input. I have talked to my fiancé who adamantly swore there were no feelings for her and was really blindsided by me bringing this up to him. He repeatedly told me he loved me, did not feel like he was too hasty in proposing to me, and that his feelings for me have not changed at all. He said there may have been feelings or attraction on her part towards him, but he was completely oblivious to it if there was anything, and those feelings or attraction were absolutely not reciprocated by him. He agreed that we should keep our distance from Ashley and said he was 100% good with not having her in our lives if need be, if it meant keeping his and my relationship on good terms. In terms of having her live with us, he said he was not talking about Ashley exclusively, but also a friend or two of his, but also included Ashley because he considered her a friend of mine. I guess maybe I jumped the gun a bit assuming he was only talking about Ashley. My mistake. In regards to her brushing against his crotch at the escape room, he did acknowledge that this happened, but told me he brushed it off like it was nothing because he figured it was an accident. To be fair, his back was towards me when this happened, and I could only see that Ashley had tried to hold eye contact with him and giggled when it happened. I only saw the back side of him. He shook his head, kind of laughed, and then kept walking. I mentioned that it made me feel like maybe he was settling for less with me in a way because it seemed he and I had less in common than he and Ashley did. He reassured me that things like video games, guitar, music, etc. was just surface level stuff to have in common with a partner. He told me that our common values and goals mean way more to him than whether I can keep up with him in video games or not. We talked for a good long while and I do feel a lot better about the whole thing. My fiance is just an overall very friendly, positive, outgoing kind of person, so maybe I was looking at his efforts to be nice in a social situation as more than it really was. I do still plan on bringing this all up to my therapist in a few weeks to work on myself so I can bring my best self forward in our relationship. As for Ashley, I have not yet made a solid decision on what to do about her, but a lot of this negative behavior seems to be stemming from her. I am going to keep my interactions with her to a very basic and bare minimum, especially until I can discuss all of this with a therapist and get some solid insight on how to deal with it. Again, thank you all kindly for your input, especially those who offered compassionate and empathetic advice. It was very much appreciated. As a further update, I will also just add a bit more context to my conflicting feelings towards Ashley. Yes, we did only meet 6 months ago, but she has told me a few times already that she is so glad we met and that she is thankful to have me as a friend, and I've reciprocated those feelings every time. She struggles with mental health issues, depression, anxiety, ADHD, neurodivergence. She goes to see a therapist for these issues. When her and I hung out last week, she had told me that she was struggling with suicidal thoughts at times and shared the same with her therapist. Her therapist got her to identify 2 people in her life that she could call if ever these feelings became stronger, and Ashley identified me as one of the people she felt close enough to talk to about this. So, even though we did only meet 6 months ago, you can see how we have grown closer in this time, which just made her behavior towards my fiancé very confusing. I struggle to understand why she would potentially risk our friendship over being over the top flirty and inappropriate towards him.
Please subscribe, leave comments, rate videos, and click the bell not to miss my videos.